Ever wondered what a crew chief does? I'm Matt Faulkner, and this is Overtime. So basically, as the leader of the team, the crew chief is responsible for all the information flow that is coming from the driver, from NASCAR, or from the guys at the shop to make the whole effort run more smooth. The roles of a crew chief are a little bit different during the week at the shop than they are at the track. We'll explain a little bit of each. At the shop specifically, the crew chief is responsible for preparing the car or making sure the decisions regarding the preparation of the car are all correct and are all of proper spec for that track coming up. So the crew chief, from a setup point of view, will work with his race engineers and work with simulation data to make sure that the setup they're putting in the car for the next race is exactly what they need, and it is tunable for whatever types of practice or no practice they have rolling into that race weekend. They want to make sure that they pick a package that is balanced and hopefully optimal for that track, but also a package that can be easily tunable towards any trends in weather or track conditions that may arise once they get to the track. Once at the track, the crew chief's job changes a little bit from what it is at the shop. Instead of planning what setup the car will have, putting that setup in the car, making sure the car has all the parts and pieces for it, and planning the race weekend, this plan all gets put into execution at the track. Once the car rolls off the truck at the track, the crew chief's first priority is getting the car through inspection. Now, inspection involves a few things. It involves the Hawkeye, which is the body scanner, making sure the body is the correct shape. The LIS, which makes sure the alignment of the car and the suspension is all correct and within spec. And then NASCAR looks over the whole car to make sure all the parts and pieces in it are legal as well. The touchiest thing at the track for crew chiefs is usually any body modifications or body adjustments that need to be made to make it legal through the body scanner, or anything that they may need to adjust after the car goes through the LIS the first time. These decisions are the crew chief's responsibility, and they're super critical because if you have to roll through body scan or LIS multiple times, you'll start to have crew members suspended, and it's always a hindrance to have missing crew members. So the crew chief will have to kind of determine how small of an adjustment you can make to be legal, so that you don't lose crew members, but also not make too big of an adjustment so that the performance of the car is negatively affected by that adjustment. So the crew chief's the one to make those calls and decide just how much they'll adjust to be legal, but on the edge of legal so the car performs well. Once practice, qualifying, and the race are going, the crew chief is ultimately responsible for the strategy of the race, of what changes they'll make in practice, what changes they'll make to the car for qualifying, when they'll pit. Anything regarding strategy of the race, the crew chief is ultimately responsible for. He does have help from the car chief regarding things on the car, and from the race engineers regarding fuel mileage and things that may impact pit strategy. There's also tools the crew chief has access to regarding fuel mileage, regarding what some of the other cars are doing. But when it comes down to making a decision, the crew chief's ultimately the guy to decide the strategy, decide 2 tires, 4 tires, decide what adjustments will be made to the car, and make the decisions that ultimately impact the race for the whole team. So whether it's at the shop, at the track, or at home texting or calling with their driver or crew members, the crew chief is ultimately the representative of the team, the guy to make all the final calls given the information he gets from his team members, and ultimately the guy to get the blame or a lot of the glory if he's penalized or if they win the race.